New York, 1954. Harlem. Betrayal isn't rare here. What's rare is a traitor who knows too much. A man who knows too much can speed up an arrest. Bumpy Johnson was put away fast. As a political figure, as a lesson. And on the island, the mob decided to close the matter. With an attempt. Through someone else's hands. But prison is a place where debts don't disappear. They just come back closer. Part 1. The political sentence. Harlem, New York, 1954. Friday, 6:08. Morning in Harlem doesn't wake up. It gets checked. Milk crates, bus breaks, a shopkeeper counting change twice. A city can hide behind routine. A man can't. Bumpy Johnson sat at his desk. Not a throne, a surface, a phone, a ledger, a fountain pen that never had to hurry, power that looks like paperwork. Red stood by the window, not watching the street, measuring it. The door opened. No knock, no apology. Roy Harkness stepped in. Former shield, former perimeter. His coat was too clean. His hands were empty. Empty hands don't mean innocence, they mean preparation. Bumpy didn't greet him. He looked at Roy's collar. New starch, new confidence. Confidence is expensive. And Roy never had extra. 6:17. Roy set a folder on the desk. Not thick, not loud. Thin things cut deeper. Paper clips, carbon copies. A stamp in the corner that didn't belong to Harlem. Bumpy didn't open it yet. He watched Roy's throat jump once, like a man swallowing a decision. "Where's this from?" Bumpy asked. Roy didn't meet his eyes. His gaze went past him, past the desk, past the room, toward a future that was already paid for. "It's out there," Roy said. "People are talking." People. That word is a mask. Behind it, there's always a name, and usually a downtown suit. Bumpy opened the folder. Tax forms, lists, dates, routes written like prayers. A ledger of lies dressed as truth. Charity. Supplies. Repairs. Words that can be turned into charges. And at the bottom, signatures. Not his, not Roy's, but close enough for a judge who doesn't want to listen. The system doesn't need perfect proof. It needs usable paper. Roy spoke too fast. "They're coming, Mr. Johnson. They've got warrants. I heard it from a guy who—" Bumpy raised one hand. One gesture. And the explanation died. Explanations are for men who still have time. Warrants don't come with time. Bumpy looked at Roy again. Roy stood perfectly still. Like a man rehearsing stillness. Stillness can be loyalty, or it can be fear of getting caught moving. 6:27. Outside, a car door closed. Not a Harlem slam. Careful. Procedure. Red's eyes narrowed. Bumpy didn't move. He just slid the folder into the drawer, not hiding it, labeling it. A man who panics hides. A man with a plan files. The knock came, hard, official, not the kind that asks, the kind that announces ownership. Red opened the door. 2 men in suits, one uniform behind them, badges out, faces blank. Blank faces are how the state saves emotion for later. 6:32. "Ellsworth Johnson," one said. Not a greeting, a product name on a shelf. Bumpy stood. Slow. Slow means you don't give them rhythm. Rhythm is control. "We have a warrant," the man said. He didn't wave it. He presented it. Like a check. A warrant is just paper. Until you see who's holding it. Bumpy held his hands out. Not because he had to. Because he chose the moment. The cuffs closed. Metal. Cold. Not winter cold. Policy cold. Roy was behind them, near the wall. Too quiet. Too far. Distance is sometimes safety. Sometimes it's guilt, pretending to be respect. Downstairs, the street had gathered. Not a crowd. A freeze. Faces in windows. Men paused mid-step. A woman holding a grocery bag like a shield. Harlem watched without joy. Arrests aren't celebrated. They're memorized. Because today it's him, tomorrow it's a neighbor. The car ride was silent. No questions. No threats. They didn't need threats. Threats are for personal enemies. This wasn't personal. This was administration. Bumpy watched the city slide by. Stoops, barbershops, church steps, a neighborhood that looked alive, and a case file that said it was diseased. 812. The courthouse smelled like polish and decisions. Marble floors, high ceilings, small people pretending to be big. A clerk moved papers from hand to hand, like money, like meat. Bumpy's lawyer leaned in. "They're not trying you," he whispered. "They're labeling you." Labels are cheaper than trials and harder to peel off. They brought out exhibits, not guns, not bodies, documents, tax ledgers, statements, typed pages in official fonts. A font is how a lie puts on a uniform. The prosecutor spoke calmly. "Mr. Johnson ran a sophisticated operation." Operation. A word that makes crime sound like business, and business sound like surgery. Bumpy watched the jury. 12 faces, 12 ordinary fears. Fear loves paperwork, because paperwork looks neutral. 8:41. Roy appeared on the witness list. Not in the room yet, but in the air. Bumpy felt it before he saw it. Betrayal doesn't arrive with noise. It arrives on schedule. When a man you trusted becomes scheduled, he's already been purchased. They read Roy's statement. Not even live. A signed affidavit. Clean. Typed. No trembling in the ink. Roy didn't have to look him in the face. The state doesn't need courage from its witnesses. It needs a signature. A signature is a bullet that never misfires. 9:03. The judge spoke like a man reading a forecast. No anger, no interest. Interest is dangerous in court. Interest slows convictions. Guilty. One word, then numbers. Years. Years are the state's favorite weapon, because years don't bleed. They moved him out fast. No speeches. No last look. Speed is how they keep a man from becoming a symbol on the courthouse steps. But Bumpy already was. Not because he wanted to be, because they needed him to be. A political sentence isn't about punishment. It's about instruction, transfer papers, a stamp, a destination. Alcatraz. Not a place. A period. The officer said it flat. Federal penitentiary. You'll be processed. Processed. That's what they say when they don't want to admit they're dealing with a human being. 11:09. Bumpy sat in a holding cell. Bench. Bars. A man in the corner pretending he wasn't listening. In cages, everyone listens, even when they call it privacy. Bumpy stared at his hands. The cuffs were off. But the paperwork wasn't. Paper stays on a man longer than steel. Red got close enough to speak. Not loud, not long. "They did it quick," Red said. Bumpy nodded once. "They had to," he answered. "Let it breathe, and it starts arguing." Red swallowed. "Roy?" he asked. Bumpy didn't say the name. Names at moments like this become gasoline. "They didn't arrest me," Bumpy said. "They cashed me." 11:17. A guard called his number. Not his name, number first, then human. Bumpy stood. Slow again. Because even when they move your body, you can still keep your pace. Rule. The state doesn't need you guilty. It needs you useful. Part 2. The Island. Alcatraz. The Bay. 1954. Friday. 1646. The water doesn't make noise. The water counts. Salt on the lips. Wind in the eyes. A chain on the waist. The boat moves steady. Like the state. Bumpy watches the shoreline. It slides away. Not the city leaving. Him being switched off. The island doesn't show up all at once. First, a shadow, then rock, then concrete, then bars you can see from far out. Alcatraz wasn't built to correct you. It was built for the ending. The dock, wet boards, slippery metal, the smell of seaweed and disinfectant. An officer with a folder? The folder thicker than it needs to be. A thick folder means they didn't bring you for a crime. They brought you for your meaning. "Johnson," he says. Not Mr., not Ellsworth. The system doesn't use names when it wants you to forget yours. 1703, a corridor. Footsteps echo. Keys. Locks. Walls on the left. Walls on the right. You in the middle. Like cargo. Cargo doesn't ask why. Cargo gets processed. Processing. Photo. Profile. Front. A number placard. Ink on the fingers. Height. Weight. Scars. They record the body, because there's nowhere to file a soul. Bumpy stays quiet. Silence here isn't virtue. Silence is currency. They issue the uniform, gray cloth, rough, no history. They take the belt. They take the watch. They take anything that says, "I decide." They take the watch first, because time is the real warden. First look at the block. Cells like compartments. Faces like labels. Some stare straight. Some look past you. In prison, past you means more than at you. At you is curiosity. Past you is appraisal. They stop Bumpy at the gate. A guard says it without malice. "Here, you're nobody." He says it calmly, like an instruction manual. Bumpy nods. No argument. No smile. In Alcatraz, arguing is a sport for rookies. Rookies love sport. Old-timers love air. 1731, a cell, 2 bunks, 1 occupied. The cellmate sits on the lower, bony, dry. Eyes like a man who reads people faster than a newspaper. He doesn't stand, doesn't offer a hand. "You're from New York," he says. Not a question. Bumpy looks at his fingers. Split knuckles, clean nails. He didn't fight yesterday, but he knows how. "Happens," Bumpy says. Short words. So the other man can't use long ones. The door shuts. Click. Pause. A pause is the most honest thing in prison. The cellmate tilts his head. "They didn't send you here for nothing." Bumpy doesn't answer. Not because he doesn't know, because he knows what confirmation costs. Confirm it, and you accept the game. Dinner. Tin trays. Water with no taste. Bread like cardboard. The line moves like a conveyor. Men here don't walk. They get moved. Bumpy takes his tray. Doesn't rush. Doesn't stall. In prison, there are 2 dangerous speeds. Too fast and too slow. 1811. A table. 3 empty seats around him. A coincidence. Coincidences in Alcatraz run on schedule. 2 guys by the wall trade a look. 1 tall, 1 short. Matching shoes. Matching shoes aren't fashion. They're affiliation. They don't watch the guards. They watch him. Back to the block. The corridor is narrow. Shoulders close. And that's where the mistake happens. Somebody stumbles. Somebody drops a laundry tub. White sheets hit the floor. Like snow. Snow kills visibility. That's the point. The first hit isn't a fist. An elbow to the ribs. A shoulder in the back. This isn't a fight. It's a test. Tests don't kill right away. They check if a man will make noise. Bumpy doesn't make noise. He turns in place. Too fast for a tired inmate. A knee, short, not the face, the thigh. To drop him, not to end him. In Alcatraz, death is an investigation. Pain is routine. 1816. The second comes from behind. A hand goes for the throat. Not a knife, a cord, a strip of cloth. Prison loves anything you can call an accident. Bumpy slips aside, shoulder to the wall. The wall is hard, but it helps if you know how. He catches the arm. Breaks the hold, no crack, No theater, just control. The cellmate, the dry one, shows up beside him. Not a hero, a function. He hooks a foot under one attacker. The man drops, dull. The third takes a step back. Because the plan was for one, and it became two. Plans hate math. The guards rush in, whistle, shouts. But the shouts are for the report, not for help. They separate them. Grab everybody. They don't care who started it. They care who's convenient now. Bumpy stands steady, breathing through his nose, a split knuckle on his right hand, and nothing else. Minimum marks, maximum meaning. Solitary, not punishment. A pause. A smaller cell, quieter, colder. The silence here isn't empty. It's filled with calculation. Bumpy sits, back to the wall, eyes on the door. People outside think solitary breaks you. Solitary only shows what's inside. The flap in the door opens. A tray, water, and a note. Unofficial. Folded into a thin square. Like a pill. 2 lines on the paper. They'll get to you in here. Say the word. No signature. No signature needed. It smells like the mob anyway. Bumpy smiles once. No joy. Crushes the paper. A word is an IOU. Say the word and you owe somebody. And he didn't come here to pay. He came here to count. Through the wall, knocks, 1, pause, 2, a code, not friendly, a test. Bumpy answers the same. 1, pause, 2, not hello. I'm here. 2011. Silence again. But now it's different. Silence is like money. If it gathers around you, somebody already invested, and somebody wants a return. The door opens. They send him back to the block. A guard looks at him a long time, a beat longer than normal. You're tough, Johnson, he says. Not a compliment. A warning. Bumpy walks past, not speeding up, because speed is what happens when you're being chased. And he isn't being chased. 21:31. In the cellmate sits the same as before, but his face has something new. Not respect. Recognition of a fact. I saw it, he says. That was ordered. Bumpy nods. Ordered hits don't come twice the same, he answers. Next time, they'll bring something different. The cellmate watches him. Who are you, Johnson? He asks. Bumpy lies back on the bunk, hands on his chest, eyes on the ceiling. I'm not a who, he says. I'm order. Rule. In prison, they don't kill you right away. First, they count you. Part 3. Debts. Alcatraz. 1954. Saturday, 5:39. Morning here doesn't brighten. It switches on. A key in a lock. Click. Boot steps on iron. The guards don't wake men up. The guards start the regime. 5:44. The cell smells like iron and wet cloth. The cellmate isn't asleep anymore. He's just lying there with his eyes open. In Alcatraz, sleep is credit, and the interest is always collected at night. Bumpy sits up, touches his knuckle with 2 fingers. The swelling is small, but its memory is long. The sink, water cold as a report. The mirror cloudy. The face in it, someone else's. Not because prison changes features, because prison erases context. Context is a luxury. They only issue facts here. The mess hall, same tin, same bread, same water that can't quench anything. And new eyes. On the left, a kid, maybe 20, an old bruise, hands shaking, not from cold. On the right, an older man, gray hair like ash. He looks at Bumpy as if he doesn't see a cell. He sees a debt. The kid comes first, not close. Close enough to still retreat. Mr. Johnson, he says, quiet. You don't know me. Bumpy doesn't answer right away. A pause isn't silence. A pause is a check. Talk, Bumpy says. The kid swallows. My mother, in Harlem. You paid for school. For me. He doesn't smile, he doesn't thank. He returns a fact. In prison, facts are currency safer than cigarettes. The second man steps up, the one with the ash hair. You helped my sister, he says. Food. In winter. 3 words. Like 3 nails. Instead of, thank you, I remember. Memory is a contract nobody signs. They just carry it. 6:31. Bumpy nods. Once? To each? He doesn't make a scene of it. Scenes are for men who sell goodness. He didn't sell goodness. He invested. And now the dividends stand before him in gray cloth. Yard time. The yard is a sheet of concrete. The sky is a lid. Men walk in circles, like clock hands with no face. They approach him, one by one. Not in a pack, not as a demonstration. Because demonstrations here end in batons. One talks about books, another about a doctor, a third about rent somebody covered just in time. All saying the same thing in different words. You didn't abandon us. 7:12. By the wall stands a man in someone else's boots. Same ones as yesterday, same soles, same confidence. He doesn't come over. He watches. Watching is the prelude to violence, or to negotiation. In prison, it's often the same thing. The cellmate whispers without moving his lips. Those ones, they're from the West Coast. They were told you need to disappear. Bumpy looks at the boots, at the stitching, at the new leather. New leather in Alcatraz is like new power. Somebody smuggled it in. If somebody smuggled it in, somebody placed the order. The first of his men, the kid with the school, takes position beside him. Not in front. To the side. To the side means, I'm not a bodyguard. I'm a witness. A witness in prison matters more than a guard, because guards write reports. Witnesses write reputation. 8:04. Work detail. Laundry. Steam. Bleach. White sheets that will never be white. They greet him with no handshakes. A short nod. A short look. 2 questions without words. You holding up? You remember? Bumpy answers with presence. Presence is an answer too. A note arrives not on paper, on the edge of a bar of soap. A scratch. 2 letters. 1 mark. A coordinate. Somebody wants a meeting. Not today. Later. The mob doesn't write letters. It leaves instructions. The library. A different silence. Cleaner. More dangerous. Bookshelves like bars. Only voluntary. Bumpy picks up a book. Doesn't read. Watches who else picks one up. A young man grabs the penal code. An old man grabs the Psalms. Law and prayer. 2 forms of the same plea. Let it not be me. The first rules aren't born out loud. They're born as habit. Don't take what isn't yours. Don't touch the weak. Don't make noise when someone offers you quiet. This isn't morality. This is logistics. Logistics is when pain becomes rare, because that's more profitable for everyone. 10:15. In the yard, the someone else's boots finally approach. 2 of them. 2 synchronized. You're not home, New York, the tall one says. He says New York like an insult, like a label. Bumpy watches his mouth. The mouth smiles. The eyes don't. I'm anywhere there's order, Bumpy says. The tall one snorts. Order? Order's ours in here. Bumpy nods. Then you speak the language, he says. I came to speak it. They expect threats. They expect shouting. They expect posturing. He gives them numbers, not literal, by meaning. Yesterday you brought 3, Bumpy says. Today there's 2 of you. Tomorrow you'll be alone. The tall one squints. You threatening me? Bumpy shakes his head. I'm counting, he says. Counting is a form of power that doesn't need a knife. 10:22. Space appears around them. Not a crowd. Witnesses. Men he helped. Men he owed by the rules of the street, but gave more than was owed. They don't stand as a wall. They stand as points. Enough points form a line. A line is a border. 1027. The tall one steps back. Not because he's scared. Because he understood something simple. Killing a man is cheap. Killing a system is expensive. And the system has already begun. It's in the looks. In the silence. In the way men stopped dropping their eyes. 1106. Administration summons Bumpy. An office. The smell of paper. A desk, like a courtroom. The block chief watches him a long time. "You're building influence, Johnson," he says. The word influence sounds like infection in his mouth. "I'm building quiet," Bumpy answers. The block chief smirks. "In Alcatraz, quiet belongs to us." Bumpy tilts his head. "Then you should be grateful," he says. "I don't charge commission." 1112. They give him a warning. Not official. Official means paper. And paper is dangerous for them too. They give him a hint. "Next fight, and you go deeper," the block chief says. Deeper means solitary. Means no people, means no network. They understood the main thing. The fist isn't the danger. Connectivity is. Back to the block. Men look at him differently now. Not like a legend, like a schedule. Somebody slips him a piece of soap. Somebody, a thread. Somebody, an apple that accidentally remained. Small things. Small things are how a system tests whether it works. 1308. The cell. The cellmate sits on the lower bunk. "You're a target now," he says. Bumpy looks at the door. "I was a target before the island," Bumpy says. "The difference is, now the target has a circle around it." The cellmate stays quiet. Silence is agreement you didn't dare say out loud. 1446. Knocks on the pipe. 1, pause, 2, pause, 3, not a greeting. Assembly. The signal runs through the block. Quiet, precise. Like calculation. Like a cash register. Bumpy answers. Not with words. With rhythm. 1502. That day nobody dies. And that is the event. Because peace in prison isn't when everybody's happy. Peace is when violence becomes unprofitable. Bumpy lies down, doesn't relax, just records. The island still holds him, but the island now has to account for him. The state wanted a period. The mob wanted a period. What they got was a comma. Rule, power doesn't always arrive with a weapon. Sometimes it arrives as a debt someone decided to repay.